group like VIP Accelerator is like that big, thick board that goes under your rear tire and gives you the traction so that you can just begin to move forward. You can get out of that rut and get unstuck because you're gaining knowledge, you are creating relationships, you are building a community, and you're hearing, you really do a nice job of centering around what we need.
Ann, I am so excited that you are here with me today. Thank you so much for joining me.
You are so welcome. I'm delighted to be here.
Will you kick us off and tell us about yourself?
Sure. First of all, I am a person who is married. I've been married to my husband, Kent, for 32 years this summer. We have 3 kids who are adults, and they are out living their lives in a very beautiful way. We are grandparents to 3. I'm a person of deep faith and purpose, and it's really what I pursue every day in my life. I've always been one who loves children. I grew up in a home that really respected and gave children a lot of dignity. My mother, well, both my parents, especially my mom, she studied child development when she was pregnant with me. I was the 4th of 5 kids. So she raised me with a little bit different filter than she might have with the other kids, because she was really learning a lot about children at that time. But anyways, I was at lunch with a friend once, and she said, "Did some kids just walk in?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And she goes, "I can always tell because your face lights up when you see a child." And that really is, I mean, it sounds so corny, but it's the truth. I really do. I do love and appreciate young children. I'm an entrepreneur. I always have been ever since I was in college. I've always had ideas. And I have pursued some and not others. And right now I am pursuing it.
And you, I think you hit the nail on the head, because you do have such a heart for the development and the nurturing of young ones. And you stay true to that with your brand. And I love that about you. And so I absolutely agree with your friend. And I would love for you to share with us a little bit about that professional career and journey that brought you to where you are today, and allowed you to kind of pursue this as this is really what lights you up and why you get out of bed every day.
Yeah, when I was in college, back in the day when I went to college, you didn't have to declare when you were in 8th grade what you wanted to be when you grew up. Well, you have to go to college and explore those things. Mm-hmm. And so I just took courses that I was really interested in. And amongst those were child development, infant development, adolescent development, all of those things. And it all just kind of fell into a degree of early childhood, child development, secondary education. And then I just landed the most wonderful opportunity in graduate school, where I got to get a master's degree in human development and family studies and intern at this place called the Infant Development Center, which is where I really fell in love with. I mean, we all like babies, right? Everybody likes a baby, but I like the developmental side of babies. I think that it's just fascinating how predictable and unique every child is. And so from there, I just kind of landed in different college programs and spent most of my career in academia, but not necessarily as a full-time professor. I was always adjunct professor, and I love teaching the college level, but I worked in places where there was a school on campus that was designated where we trained teachers of early childhood and elementary ed, psychology, sociology. All those students would filter through our programs, and we would teach them about children and their development. And so I have been explaining why children do what they do my whole career. And so it just kind of, careers have ebbs and flows, and it just kind of morphed into lots of different things. My last position was at a university here in Houston, and working with a state grant in early literacy. And it just came to be in our life that I could resign from that job and go to work for myself. And I started a business for early childhood teachers. And I still have it today. It's called Texas Child Care Training, and it's a catalog of courses that anyone who works in a licensed child care center has to take these courses every year. And so I have that business. And then my daughter and I started what's Nurtured Noggins. And that started as a mommy blog. And she was going to really be the person who was the owner of this business. And she did a beautiful job of setting up the website. And she wrote all these fabulous blogs. She's an educator too. She really got a beautiful eye for children. And then she had her second baby and she said, Mom, I really, it's impossible to make money blogging. I'm sorry to say it, but it's just really, really a tough deal to make happen. And so I said, I hear you, sister, but I just loved the domain Nurtured Noggins. And I said, I'm just going to hang on to that little name. And we just let it sit there. I let it sit there, and it just sat there for a while. And then it came time to check pay the URL fee one time. And I thought, I'll just go see what that little website's doing. Well, it had gone viral, and she was getting about 10,000 clicks a month. No, I say that wrong. It was more like 30,000, 40,000 a month at that time. Looking at the blog post called How to Play with Your 0 to 3 month old, Activities for Your 3 to 6 month old, What Can I Do with My 6 to 9 month old? And I just thought to myself, well, golly, I think there's a bunch of young mamas out here who are just really not quite sure how to interact with their baby. And that's what I love. And so I just kind of pivoted and turned my attention towards Nurtured Noggins, and we reworked, rebranded, and I really began, and I continue to put my full efforts into that work. I still train teachers. I've got tons of trainings this summer, and I still get in front of them, and I love that work as well. But I really like working with young parents of young children. So,
and I think that's the beautiful part of your story, Ann, is that you have a business, and you didn't really need to have another one, but you saw a need, and you saw an opportunity where they're hungry for information. What more can I be giving them to help feed this hunger that they have and this desire for information? And so I think that is so beautiful about it, because it wasn't like you felt like, I'm just going to start this, we'll see where it goes. Like, no, you really were able to look at the raw data and say, there is something here. And I think that's so cool. And we've worked together previously with social media, but now you are part of the first class of the VIP Accelerator. And so will you tell the listeners and the viewers, what was your reasoning behind joining the program?
There's two things that come to mind. And I'll say this one first, and that is, I had worked with you with my social media. And I knew that you were good. I knew that you knew what you were talking about. And but I'll tell you, a lot of what made me decide to go with it is there were some very unspoken things that you communicated in my work with you that I wanted to learn how to do that. And one was there is just a real classiness in your interaction with your client. There's a real, very clear communication. You are stellar on follow through. If you say you're going to have it by the end of the day, you have it by the end of the day. You never wonder, is Allie going to do what she said she was going to do? Never, ever have to wonder that. And then, so I knew I wanted to learn from you and learn what you were offering. Plus, I just love learning. I'm always in some type of learning community. And I liked the idea of this one because it was smaller. I don't know if you remember, but I asked you, well, how many people are going to be in this group? Because I wanted a small community. And not to say that you can't learn plenty from these large groups of people. I know there's a lot of people who have very large groups, but I like this, the size of the group, the interactions, and the ability to really know people, and to everyone gets a turn to speak.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you for those kind words. That is so heartwarming to hear. And I'm so glad that that comes across and is clear through our interactions. And while we're recording this, we are actually still very deep into the program. We have about a month and a half left. But so far, when you look back at your time in the program, what has been your most favorite part?
Two things. One is I love reading the books. I love to learn new things, and I think that the books that have been selected have been very carefully selected. I know as an educator that you have looked very carefully at what you're presenting to us, even the order in which we're given the books. And so I really appreciate that. I appreciate the learning and the conversation and discussion of the content of that book each week. I think is really helpful and helpful in digesting and implementing the information that you get. So yeah, I think that, and then just the weekly conversations. I think I had to miss one once, but yeah, I've been real happy to come to them every week. It's not anything that's been a problem at all. I've loved it.
Good, thank you. Whenever you think about the areas of your business that you really were able to find clarity and you were able to walk away and say, I know I improved upon this area of my business without a shadow of a doubt, what are those areas where you found that clarity?
I think messaging, I think, is the most important place. And a lot of the books that we have read and a lot of our conversations and the things that you have presented have been around messaging. And but it's just always been a struggle for me to communicate who I am and why I have the right to have your ear on this topic. Mm-hmm. And also, I have really struggled, and I'm finally getting comfortable, and I really believe it's because of this clarity. I've always felt a little bit like I didn't fit in with the other people who are doing the same work as me, which is reaching out to moms, because most of them are young moms themselves who have a baby on their hip. They have all these great stories to tell and all of that stuff. And so I always felt like, well, who's going to want to listen to me? I'm not in the thick of it. I don't have a baby on my hip right now. And so that has been really helpful. I think I have gotten a lot of clarity just on that part of the messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yes, I've definitely learned so much from you without even having kids myself. And so I'm really glad you were able to break through that mental mind block, because you have so much to offer, Ann. And if anything, I value your teachings and the lessons that you can bring to the table even more. So I thank you for that. And you mentioned the books and that being, one of your favorite parts. And you're right. I completely agree. That has definitely been a good accountability for me to be reading along with you all, but to know that I'm going to get on that call and we're going to be talking about the book and get that reading done. So out of all the books we have read, which ones are your favorite and why?
I had to really think about that. But the one that I think is the best for me personally at this moment in my life was Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson. Even though it felt a little bit like I was trying to drink out of a fire hose as I read that book. I mean, it was just so full of thick information.
Every page you could be highlighting something.
My head was spinning, and it still spins as I even think about it. But that guy was able to give some explanations of marketing that were easy for me to grasp. And marketing is not, I mean, I like little kids. I don't like so much all this marketing data analysis stuff. I'd really rather not think about it. And so I think that I'll be really going back to that book a lot and using it as a resource. So
and that one's such a good one, like a handbook almost, because it does have such short chapters that you can go back to. So if anybody's listening and you haven't read this one, it's an easy read. Although, as Ann mentioned, it is one of those where you're kind of going, okay, I need to take a break from what I just read. Yeah, the short chapters are easy to get through, but then you really have kind of this running to-do list on your notebook that you're going, I'm getting overwhelmed very quickly. So, Ann, in a nutshell, if you could really just summarize the benefits that you gained from being a part of the VIP Accelerator.
I feel like I'm bolder in every way. I'm more comfortable in my skin because I have been able to define and clarify this messaging. And I think I have really been able to get clearer goals and visions of where I'm heading next.
I love that. That's so powerful. And I think that is such good lessons that you can take even beyond Nurtured Noggins and be able to use that if you were to create another company. So if someone is listening and they're kind of considering, they're on the fence about joining the next round of the VIP Accelerator, what would you say to them?
Well, here's the picture I have for you. Let's say you are driving on a dirt road and it has been raining a lot, and you get to a puddle and you're trying to go up a little incline and your car gets stuck and the wheels are just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and you cannot go anywhere. To me, that's kind of what it's like to be an entrepreneur or a small business owner. It sometimes feels like you are just working so hard. You're trying so hard to move forward and you just cannot get traction. And I feel like a group like VIP Accelerator is like that big, thick board that goes under your rear tire and gives you the traction so that you can just begin to move forward. You can get out of that rut and get unstuck because you're gaining knowledge, you are creating relationships, you are building a community, and you're hearing, you really do a nice job of centering around what we need. I mean, I know that you're paying attention to what people are saying and doing, and you're addressing those things. And so it truly is, it's a great tool for moving forward in your business.
I love that analogy. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great way to think about it. And, especially when you think about, you can keep driving down that road, you can keep navigating it on your own. It's possible, it's totally doable, but whenever you can have those tools in your toolbox to accelerate and get through it faster, get through it smoother, that's definitely a great way to think about a group like the VIP Accelerator. And you're on the Selfish podcast. And for those of you that are watching on YouTube, we also repurpose our audio onto the Selfish podcast. And so it wouldn't be a Selfish podcast interview without asking you, how do you like to be selfish? And I like to always preface this question by saying, this is, of course, as entrepreneurs, our realization that self-care is important to our own success. And so what part of your self-care do you practice that we can consider selfish in our books?
I'm sorry, but I have to have two answers to this question.
You totally are allowed. That's fine.
The first one is I allow myself to dream, and to dream really big, and to stay curious and moving forward. And that's what really drives me from within. So dreaming, I'm a big dreamer. But the other thing is, I really challenge myself to do very hard things. And I go to this very hard workout called Camp Gladiator 3 times a week. And every single time I go, I think I might die, but I don't. And that's the one hard thing that I do that is truly self-care, because if I don't go, I do not feel good. So.
And you've told me about that before. That I think it sounds so fun in theory, but I know if I was in person, I would say, why did Ann get me to come to this? So
yeah, you might.
I love that you're keeping up with it. That's great. Ann, when you think about the next 6 months, the next year, the future, what is next for you?
Well, that's part of this clarity I've gotten from VIP Accelerator, Allie. I have had this idea, this dream in my head for probably 3 years now. And I think it's kind of taking shape and forming. And I'm going to launch a program, and I don't know exactly what that looks like. I think it's going to be a podcast that just costs a little bit of money, not very much, but enough to where only the people who really want to hear it and participate are in there. That empowers and equips moms to not only nurture their baby, but to nurture themselves with authority, because they learn about themselves, and clarity and grace and kindness. Just we all need to learn about our babies, but we really need to learn about what's going on with us in this whole parenting process, because it is a developmental process, just like your little child is going through developmental stages. You go through developmental stages as a parent, as an adult, as a woman, as all of those places. And so that's what's next for me. Yeah.
I'm so excited to hear that. And I can't wait to see what you develop through that. If someone that is listening wants to work with you or wants to take one of your courses, how can they contact you?
You can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Nurtured Noggins. And then you can always email me, Ann@nurturednoggins.com.
And thank you so much for sharing your experience with the VIP Accelerator, for your time today. I just love your energy. I love your warm heart, your kindness, your desire to learn, but also your desire to help empower mothers and parents to raise their children with this empowered feeling. And that comes across so clearly in everything you do. And so I'm so proud of you, first of all, for everything you've developed and will develop in the future. But I just can't thank you enough for your kindness and your friendship over the years.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of sad that VIP Accelerator's ending. Got it.
Me too.
Thanks so much, Allie.